a friend like you. So good, so good. I didn't know I could have a friend like you. Closer than a brother, closer than a brother. I didn't know that I could have a friend like you. I didn't think that I deserved it. I didn't know.
Yes, that is Maverick City Communion. The time now is exactly 2 minutes past 10 a.m. here in Port Elizabeth, South Africa. It's a beautiful Monday morning. It's a bit chilly, it's 16 degrees Celsius. Well, it's a good time to have an amazing conversation. Seated with me is none other than our very own Pastor Khaya Sodladla, who is a marriage counselor. He is a pastor, and he leads an amazing church. You want to check him out for sure. And we are going to have an amazing conversation. Today, we are going to talk about communication in a marriage and effective confrontation. In the past, we have been dealing with matters of how differently wired men and women are. But today, we are going to start looking at this issue of communication. But before we actually jump into it, I'd like Pastor to say hi to our viewers and listeners. Here we go, Pastor. How are you?
Thank you, Brother John. I am good. The Lord is good. His grace is sufficient. And I want to take this time as well to greet our listeners wherever you are. I pray and hope that we're going to be having quite a good, informative program this morning.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much. And today we're going to be delving into this new topic, which I am very excited. I have been reading, your book for our viewers. You can see it, The Art of Building a Healthy Marriage. If you haven't gotten yourself a copy, please do contact us on our number 06799444546. Get in touch with us, drop us on our Facebook Live, and we will get the copy to you. Today, we are going to talk about communication in marriage. That is just absolutely amazing, and effective confrontation. There is a saying that says communication to a relationship is like oxygen to life. Without it, it dies. I don't know how we can, those who are married understand. In fact, any relationship, as long as there are two or more people involved, communication is absolutely essential. It's a transfer of knowledge and information, and also, you're able to relate and associate and bond and share your thoughts, intentions, and mind to somebody else. So, Pastor, please do take us through what we're going to be discussing today.
Thank you, Brother John. I'm truly looking forward to the program of today, and it's a beginning of another journey or on another concept that is very crucial in marriage, the concept of communication. And I trust that our listeners will be blessed and equipped and empowered to do their marriages better. I'm excited, as I said before, if you can take a number of couples and ask them, what do you think is the most important, crucial area of your or thing that as a marriage you need to master? Those who know what they are doing will tell you, about 90% will tell you it is communication. As you say, that communication is very crucial, very important. You are taking here, the Bible says, and the two shall become one, and everybody knows that.
Yes.
Even people that are not married, they know that.
They know the scripture.
They know that the mechanization of marriage is to get the two people to become one.
Yes.
But it's easier said than done. Why is it so? Because these people that we are talking about are coming from different backgrounds, are coming from different, they've got different preferences, they are wired up differently, they are coming from different cultures, it can be family cultures, it can be, different cultures coming from different nations. So you're taking people here who are totally completely different people, different temperaments, different, personalities, different characters. You put them together and then you say, yeah, here you are, become one. Their preferences are not the same. Their priorities are not the same. They don't see things the same. Now, it takes the most crucial tool to make these people, for them to be on the same, on the same pace, on the same wavelength. They need to learn how to communicate. They need to learn how, the Bible says, and the two were naked and not ashamed. Now, when you talk about that nakedness, it's with, I normally when talk about communication, if you are a married couple, for you to become one, you need to be, naked and not ashamed. Now, emotional nakedness is very crucial in marriage. Emotionally, I cannot really read. I can assume these are the emotions you're going through. I can because we are emotional beings, and love is an emotional act. So for us to flow together, we need to learn how to get each other, on the emotional level. But for us to do that, we need to learn how to communicate our emotions. And the challenge is, for me, in my culture, in my background, we, as it is with many men and many cultures in different parts of the world, men have been taught not to allow themselves to be vulnerable emotionally. So as a result, many men, especially men, I'm not saying women are not like that, but many men are struggling to be naked emotionally. Being naked emotionally means you need to learn how to communicate what you feel, and you need to learn how to communicate. Now, if you look in many couples and many marriages, as Brother John has said, I normally put when I deal with the couples, I normally put my hand out. And I say, in marriage, there are different concepts that are very crucial for the couples to catch. Concepts like, understanding, let me give it, living and cleaving.
Yes.
So you need to learn how, as a marriage, how do you live and cleave? How do you get to prioritize your spouse above any other thing? And otherwise, you must be willing to leave your family. You must be willing, not necessarily live in terms of forsake them, but it just means that now your priority becomes this one. We have got to learn the concept of managing financial resources within marriage, because now that you are married, you need to learn that you cannot be an independent, being within marriage. So you've got to learn how then do you do this thing. You might be used to do it as a person, as an individual, but now that you are married, how do you manage your resources? Because if you learn, and there are many other concepts that we deal with within marriage, but this one of communication is crucial, because it touches all of them. You can't do living and cleaving if you cannot communicate well. You can't do, the act of marriage. Act of marriage, it is the act in the bedroom of the couples.
Without communication.
You can't do the ministry in the bedroom if you cannot communicate well. You can't do, financial management or resource management in marriage if you cannot communicate. So you need to learn to communicate. Communication is the key. Many marriages that break, when people have matured and have had time to look back at what really happened, they are crying. because they realize maybe at some point of their lives, they end up talking about whatever caused them, to separate.
Yeah.
And they feel, but if we spoke about this, if I knew this is how you feel, we should not be where we found ourselves in.
Sure.
So communication is very crucial. Now, in my book that it speaks about, I speak about, some of us, there's a certain age, understand a sitcom that used to be called Mind Your Language.
Yes, yes.
Mind Your Language was a very funny sitcom. I still love that sitcom up till today. Whenever I can get it from, internet, I always download it and just watch it with my children.
Mr. Brown.
And we enjoy it. Now those who are not aware, or those who are not maybe familiar with the sitcom, it's a story about these foreign students that goes to London, and they are coming from different parts of the world, and they are not necessarily, English is not necessarily their first language or even second language, but because they have got to strive in London, they are forced to go into a class for English. So they go to this class, Mr. Brown is their teacher, and they come in here and their English is broken, and when you listen to them, somebody would say this, another would think that this one is saying this, It becomes a confusion in that class. The whole class will, the whole period will finish, and you find that these guys have learned nothing because there's been confusion. Somebody thinks that this one is saying this. Sometimes they will fight because they misunderstand each other. Now, many marriages are in Mind Your Language.
Wow.
You find that, they spend the rest of their lives, but they always miss each other because they have not learned the art of communication. Now, communication is very crucial. I would say that, the role that is played by communication in marriage, sometimes I think we are underestimating it. I think, as a marriage coach, I think that if a couple is not, matured in this area, it diminishes their chances of making it as a couple. Many marriages end up in divorce unnecessarily because the couple have not learned the art of communication. Now, for me to do this, if you take some time and listen to these sessions that we're going to be doing from now until we finish this program of communication, if you take some time and invest and listen, some of the things that I will talk about, you'll say, oh, you know what, I know that. I'll be confirming things that you already know, but it's crucial for you, to really reinforce them in your mind. Because many marriages, I can never repeat this enough, many marriages ends up in the rocks unnecessarily. Because, and I've seen people saying, and they come to the marriage counseling, and then when we're already in, and then you get to hear both stories, and you find that they feel like fools. Because they feel, but you didn't tell me that. If you told me that, would not be where we are here today, where we are today.
Yes.
So I want to say to you, please, prioritize. The best investment in your marriage, it is to invest in communication. And in this session, we're going to be talking about, we're going to be going more into the technicalities or the mechanics of doing confrontation. Confrontation is not necessarily fighting. Actually, healthy confrontation,
Can be very good.
It is very good. I mean, it can bring you even closer.
Wow.
You don't have to fight when you confront each other. And that's what we have to learn. How do you confront each other, in a healthy manner? Confrontation, it means there is something that I am not happy with in this relationship. And for me, I need to learn that if I have to deal with that, I refuse to tackle the person. The person I love, but I need to learn how to tackle the problem, the issue, without tackling the person.
Sure.
So we're gonna be looking at this more and more in this session. But as I say, it is gonna be very, very, informative, very helpful, and I pray that it will be a blessing to your marriage.
I'm very excited about this topic myself because confrontation, just the name confrontation almost connotes how call it, friction.
Yes.
And it connotes aggression. There's a perception of emotional upheaval, and it's, as you said, it doesn't have to be so.
Yeah.
I like when I was going through your book, and for our listeners and viewers, you must please get yourself the copy of the book, The Art of Building a Healthy Marriage by Pastor Khaya Sodlala. Man, I was reading it.
Wow.
Exciting. I love the humor in it. I was laughing my head out most of the time. It's, as you can see, that's it right there. Please do get yourself a copy. And in chapter 2, where you say the art of conflict resolution, that's page 16. I like the analogy that you give of a car. I believe you've been in the motor industry for a bit, and so this is like very, very close to heart. When you're talking about the irritating noise
of the
brakes, and then the driver just kept on, shrugging it and taking and then pushing it off like next time and next time. But the time he's getting down to look into what this thing is, it's a big mess. And one of the things that really hit me was the whistle of the mechanic made the bank account shudder. So I was laughing. I was laughing hysterically. People were like, "What's wrong with you?" But it's an amazing read. I can't overemphasize it. So, Pastor, if you can take us through this process in terms of because before confrontation there must be an issue. As you said, this is two people that is coming together. The Bible says the two shall become one flesh. There's a living and the cleaving. And I was listening to Pastor, what's his name, Bishop T.D. Jakes.
Okay.
And he was saying it takes a while to cleave. Probably not even a year. For the cleaving to really happen, for you to the rhythm to work, to flow, as they normally put it. And this, as you said, the biggest portion of it is the communication issue. Let's get into it, Pastor. Why is communication important to change that, the break part, not for it not to go into the grinding noise when now there's big issues and now there's a lot of expenses that's going to be involved. You have to go and see counselors. It goes to a point where it's almost, of course, this is as long as they live, there is hope. But sometimes it gets to points that they've already called each other names, they've already hurt there's like lots of things that have happened. How does communication play a major role in that?
Brother John, that's a very good question. But I think if everybody can understand and act on the advice that I'm gonna be dishing out now.
Yeah.
Let me start by saying that conflict resolution should never be your enemy. Let me give you another analogy before I can respond to your question. I normally make this analogy. I just like many other darkies. I'm a darkie. Like many other darkies, we are not very good friends with water, especially a lot of water.
Ocean.
No, it's ocean. So when I go to the beach, I always stay as close as possible to the land.
Shore.
I don't like waves. When the waves grow bigger, I go far away, even far away from the beach. I mean, I watch it from afar because the waves intimidate me. But you'll be surprised that there are people that would travel long distances. They would study and look at the they would look at the predictions of the weather and the predictions of the waves.
Yes.
And they will get a prediction that says in East London there's gonna be high waves, or in Jeffreys Bay there's gonna be high waves. So they will drive all the way to Jeffreys Bay carrying their surfboards. They will look for the highest wave. And then when they get there and they see the wave, while we run away, they are excited and running towards them. And when they get there and go deep and wait for the highest wave and get excited when it comes, because they have learned how to ride it. They have learned to make the wave work for them. Confrontation in marriage is like that. You need to learn the art of how to ride your conflicts to take you to a higher level. Because let me tell you something. If you are able to resolve one conflict, whatever conflict is lesser than what you have already learned to resolve, you will be higher than it. So it's an opportunity to make you better.
Wow.
If you can resolve a problem, an issue that was an issue in your marriage, and you resolve it healthily, it brings you closer.
Wow.
Now, coming back to your question, the biggest mistake of many couples is what we call the dove approach of communication.
Okay.
Next week we're going to be talking about the 4 vows of communication.
All right.
Yes. Now, the biggest mistake of many people approaching communication, not called the dove approach, is maintaining peace at all costs.
Okay.
Or maybe say I'm gonna, but it's the reluctance to confront issues. There's an issue. There's a problem, but you keep on saying, let me not deal with it. Let me not deal with it. Let me not deal with it. I don't want to cause any I don't want to rock the boat for now. Let me leave it. But the problem is, I say I'm gonna deal with it another time.
Yes.
But the problem is, just like that analogy of the car.
Yes.
Those who drive cars, they know it might not be the brake. They know, they might have gone through this. You feel that there's a problem in the car, but you came and say, hey, my budget is not allowing me.
Yes.
But you keep driving the car. And the more you drive the car, the more the problem builds up. By the time you take the car in, you find that you're no longer paying for that problem, but it's something that you have overlooked for a number of times, and it's costing you big time. Now, what I'm trying to say here is, it's very crucial that as a married person, when an issue is there, don't put it back for long. Deal with it, but in a healthy manner. The techniques, or maybe the skill that we're gonna be teaching in this program, please learn it well, so that you will not be afraid. You'll not run away from dealing with issues, but like those surfers, you'll run for them. And if you learn let me tell you something. There's nothing so beautiful as a couple that you can deal with the most difficult issues in your marriage, and you can still kiss and laugh about them.
Wow.
That's maturity.
That's absolutely.
Once you get to that level that there's nothing we're not talk about, there's nothing we're not deal with, and you don't have to fight or to deal with that, that's the highest, richest level of marriage. And you're able to get it. You're able to get there.
Wow.
You just have to learn the art.
Wow, for sure. And I think just touching on that, the analogy of the dove communication, is it?
Yes,
dove?
yeah, the dove.
The dove kind of communication, and I think it's in sync with in your book you said is the dustbin, the emotional dustbin.
Yes.
Especially when some things are not taken care of for the sake of peace. Just dumping things into that bin, and then it becomes overwhelming, and there is toxins. By the time a trigger just goes, it explodes the whole thing, and out of proportion. So there's people listening right now, and probably they're saying, you know what, you're saying this a few years back. When I look at the rear view mirror, and I see what the trend, we see things clearly, the Vision 2020, when you look back,
Exactly.
in the clear, the rearview mirror, that's when
Yes.
you we see all these things. We see what, how can we, encourage confrontation, especially for someone who's non-confrontational, about issue for the sake of peace. Somebody who's like, okay, maybe they're freshly married, they've never fought before, and so this is a new terrain, and so they don't know how to, navigate. What handles, what I can say what, because navigating through something, you need directions and skill to navigate. How can you encourage positive and growth confrontation?
But John, I think what I normally encourage the couples, especially new couples, because as you are saying, for them, when they get married in their space, in their box, they don't see themselves fighting. So when an issue comes up, it takes them off guard. And as a result, they don't deal with it. And I've seen many couples that after 20 years, they are fighting about an issue.
Sure.
But to my surprise, something that happened 20 years after they got married will crop up.
My goodness.
It's in the emotional dustbin. And it's very dangerous because you find that there's nothing so difficult when you deal with people than dealing with this, but you're not dealing with this.
Exactly. That was just a trigger.
That was just a trigger. Now, if you don't know what you're doing as a counselor, you can be very frustrated because you will never help that person unless you know how to go back. But now, the problem is to go back is more difficult.
Sure.
But instead of a person could have solved that thing at that particular moment. Because now when you go back, you're not only dealing with that thing, but it's got scales. It's like an onion. It has created
Layers.
scales of over the years. It's no longer only which started the issue. What I normally therefore encourage the couple is what I call the couch time.
Okay.
That's the first tool I'm going to give you on
All
communication.
Right.
That's what I call the couch time. The couch time is when you take time and you decide, you make a decision, you program, in your time as a couple. That maybe you can say every week, on a particular day, be specific and be intentional about it. It should not happen accidentally. You must be religious in keeping this. Of saying, on this day, whatever happens, we must make sure that on this time, we are having our couch time.
Wow.
It can be 10 minutes, What you do on the couch time, you switch off everything. If you have got children, if you have to, please don't go to the bedroom. That's the last place you go. Find a place that you can do your couch time that is going to be quiet, just the two of you, no phones to disturb you. Switch off the phones. Make sure if you have to put a big no disturb sign on the door and sit down there. And then you do what we call, it's not because you have an agenda. You can ask, for example, 3 questions. First question is, if there is anything that you could change about me, what would you change? I'm not saying you're going to change it. If there was anything that you could change about me, what would you change? Or what would you make better?
Yeah.
Please, though, that is not to give suggestion. Don't put commands and say, okay, but I told you this is what I want. Okay. Why are you not changing? No. That's why we say if you could. Now, the reality is you cannot. At least it gives an idea what you think about me. It gives an way to be honest. Number 2, it says, in this last week, is there anything that I might have done or that I am doing that is hurting you? And these are just the examples of questions. please, you created a safe space there.
Wow.
To talk. And then you give each other time to talk. And you do this in a loving manner. You're not doing this because right now you are angry because you are dealing with this. It's something that you are just doing. And then the last one is, in the last week, what is it that I have done that made you happy? What is it that I've done well? You close by that. So you talk and you talk and you talk. And then when you can do a system like that, it helps you, therefore, that even if you are not a confronter, but at that time you're doing what we call the spring cleaning.
Okay.
You don't wait until there are problems, but please, even that as it may, it does not mean that don't confront issues. If there's an issue that needs to be confronted, don't say I'm gonna pack it up for the couch time.
Okay.
Because you don't want the couch time to be a place that you dread. But I wonder what are the issues gonna be.
It's true.
But at least that couch time, it helps, even if you didn't think an issue was an issue. But on the couch time, you've got an opportunity to say, but there was this thing that I was not happy with. Or there was this thing that bothered me. Can we look at it?
And I also like the analogy that you used between Tyler and his wife, I think Melissa, in chapter 3 of your book, on the art of confrontation.
Yes.
Where now the husband, probably his schedule became busy, and the wife is thinking, why I'm not a priority right now, and this thing is beginning to bother her and to build her up, within, and so he's, unfortunately, then the train of thought goes in a different direction. Oh, there must be another woman.
Yes.
And which probably is a lot of, thought that sometimes, wives out there, might think when the husband is not, putting them as a priority, communicating love. And so, when the buildup of emotion, and I think I want to lead it into the next point where, how to properly confront. I don't know if you can go into that, Pastor, because you spoke about 3 things. I think the confrontation tone, how somebody actually not vents, but like to communicate that issue. You said to tackle the issue and not to tackle the person. So in your analogy, you said that she stood in front of the TV and was yelling out and already accusing him of things and has not heard anything from his perspective. I don't know if you can delve into that a little bit.
Let me start by saying because it's going to be a longer session.
Yes.
We're going to be doing next week the 4 vows of communication and just look at different styles of communication that we sometimes make mistakes on. And then from there, we're going to be going to the technicalities of confrontation, like the tones, the 3 tones, the audio tone, the body language tone, and the heart tone.
Yes.
And then from there, we're going to talk about the timing. Timing is very important. When you confront somebody, you need to read the timing well. The timing and also the place where you do the confrontation can either sabotage or work for you. And then the third thing we're going to talk about the toxic techniques, the mistakes that we make when we confront. Like Melissa, she prejudiced. Prejudice can be a toxic technique. When you approach confrontation already with a prejudice in your mind, you already made up your mind. This is what is happening. Then you have a problem. Maybe if you approach confrontation with aggressiveness, approach confrontation with self-defense, you're already defending yourself, and so on. So I want to talk about those as we go with the program. So I want us to be aware of that. Now, when you look at the issue of confrontation, an eagle is a very powerful bird. And you can see in the Bible, God always speaks about an eagle.
Yes.
You can see he's proud
Yes.
of his creation. That bird is brilliant.
Sure.
I mean, that's a bird that can be 10 kilometers up there and can spot the prey down on the ground 10 kilometers away, and is so focused. When it dives down, it will go straight for the prey and pick it up. That bird, it's not like other birds. When it nests, it does not nest in a tree. It looks for the highest cliff. You know, and when an eagle starts flying, it will start flying from a cliff. And that bird goes to the highest heights without much effort. It uses the wind. It has learned the art of using the wind to lift it up. Now, when there is a storm, other birds and even people run away from the storm.
Yes.
But guess what? That's when the eagle is excited. It goes for the eye of the storm and allow the storm to lift it up. I'm gonna keep on emphasizing this. When there's something to confront in an issue, that's a possibility for a storm.
Wow.
But those who learn the art of communication will look for that, for the eye of the storm, and enjoy the storm lifting them up. So what I'm trying to say here is, if you learn the art as well, because today I'm just introducing the topic.
Yes.
We're gonna delve deeper. We're gonna go into the technicalities of it. We're gonna go deeper so that I can understand wider and more on communication. But once you learn this concept, you know, I'm just showing you the dangers of not communicating and the joy of confrontation. Now, in that book I said, the purpose of doing this communication teaching, it is not that we are trying to do away with conflicts.
Conflicts are inevitable.
Conflicts are inevitable, not just inevitable, but are very important. You know, we don't like them, but you better learn to love them. Any marriage that have no conflict, it's a marriage that is unhealthy.
Wow.
Because for you to become big, that means you are pretending.
Sure.
I mean, I've been married with my wife for 17 years. We are going for 18 now.
Wow.
You know, so within a short space of time, we're going to be celebrating 20. I can't wait. You know, I'm still enjoying it. Praise the Lord.
Amen.
You know, you know, my wife is the best. I mean, my wife is the best. She makes marriage so wonderful and so doable. But in spite of that, we still have some conflicts.
Yes.
Where we don't see it might not be very big conflicts, but we still do have conflicts. Let me give an example. The conflict might be, I would love to eat spaghetti today, and she wants to make rice. That's a conflict.
Yes.
It might be a minor conflict,
but
it's still a conflict. So there will always be conflicts because you will always have different priorities. If, for example, somebody blesses, we get money. When we do the budget and we have money, and for me, I thought, there's that car that needs tires there. And in her mind, she thinks my curtains in the house have been there like that for so long.
Yes.
I need to change them. I don't think, I don't see any problem with the curtains. She does. And she feels that she wants to change the curtains, but we need the car to have tires.
It's true.
That's a conflict. How we resolve that conflict will determine our maturity. So marriage should never to strive to do away with conflicts.
Wow.
But it should be about how do we master the art, you know, as we're saying, the art of great communication.
Wow.
So we're going to be dealing with this, and then after we're also going to talk about the actual mechanics, understanding what happens when somebody communicates with you.
Wow.
what happens to the receiver, what happens to the sender, because as I communicate, there's always a sender and a receiver. But there's also the space in between, we call it the meaning-making machine.
Okay.
There's something, there's a meaning, the meaning you apply, how you hear it. It depends on the it depends on the processes. So you need to understand such minute details or dynamics of communication. But I'm excited about it. I trust and pray that we're going to be learning a lot in this program, and I trust that the listeners will be blessed. Please, I want to challenge you. Make sure you don't miss any of these programs. Make sure you go out there and invite somebody and say, listen, you cannot miss out on this. I cannot. But John, praise the Lord, you are not married yet. I cannot overemphasize the importance of communication in marriage. Many marriages, you said something here that I think is very crucial. You said sometimes, because you don't understand or because you don't resolve some issues. If you don't deal with them, you might damage a lot of things. You might cause, a lot of, it could cost you a lot. You could say things, do things that you will regret later on because you never followed the proper processes of resolving those issues. And if you don't resolve them, they will resolve you.
Wow.
They will solve you in a bad way.
Wow. It's true. Like you have to deal with deal with the elephant in the room.
Yes.
You cannot avoid it. You can't go around it.
Yes.
The elephant occupies space and you cannot ignore it. It is there. If there's an issue, deal with it. So I know there's, as you said, these are two people that come from, very different backgrounds, different experiences, different expectations in marriage. And so, Pastor, how can you double click on that premarital counseling? That two people actually coming together know what exactly it is that they're getting into. They know, and also to spend time. I don't know. We spoke about the duration, the time, how they spend together, and meaningful time. Getting to know each other just before they jump into marriage. And it's absolutely important because if there is a foundation already, before marriage, then even in marriage, they've been friends before marriage. In marriage, then they already have a foundation to work on.
But John, that's a very crucial question. One of the things I've learned is people that are not yet married, they talk a lot together, and they don't communicate.
Okay. Wow.
Communicating what I term communication is when you open yourself to be naked. When you're naked, you become vulnerable.
Wow.
People that are not yet married, they are very good in acting and pretending and showing a facade.
Wow.
If you are so preoccupied with showing a facade, you will never be honest in communication.
Sure.
You will say what you think the other wants to hear. You will act the way that the other you think they're expecting you to act. I've seen them. You see them when the guy or when the lady is not there. When they laugh as if they're falling from a mountain. But when the lady is there or when the guy is there, they change their laugh. Because they are acting what they want the other one to see. They are putting out their best. They are selling themselves. This happens subconsciously.
Wow.
And as a result of that, you find that even when it comes to communication, they are actually trying to bring out the best of what they think the other is expecting. They don't want to chase the bird away. They've already caught the bird, so keep it inside. as a result, on the first thing that we do when we do communication, there's a long list of marriage questionnaire. Those are, if you look on those questions, most of them are just basic questions. But you'll be surprised how many couples have never even thought about those questions. Let me give you simple. How many children are you planning to have?
Wow.
Simple question, and you realize, wow, these guys have been talking and talking, but they have never thought, let's talk about how many children we want.
Sure.
And yet that's one of the deal makers or deal breakers. If this guy says, I want 10 children, and the lady says, no, I will never carry children in this figure, what do you do?
Wow.
Those are simple things. Do you like cooking? If the lady can say, well, for me, I don't like cooking. I can do your washing and other things, but I'm not even good at cooking. But this guy is marrying this lady. It is my thing, just like my mother, I'm going to be having great meals. And the lady doesn't like cooking. But what the lady does, whenever the guy is going to visit, he always pretends as if he's going to be cooking, but he goes to the next shop and buys the meals from this restaurant and put them in the pot as if he should cook. Now, it's just a joke.
Yes.
But these are simple things that I've learned. So we put up this. It helps them to communicate. So they fill in this individually. I look at them. I look at the red signs that says there might be a problem here. These people are not in the same wavelength here. How do I help them to understand, okay, let's balance this? This is simple things. For example, the other one let me give you an example of the question that we ask. Do you think there's a problem for me to have friends of the opposite sex?
Wow.
Those are questions that we ask. And you find that this guy has got strong, or this lady has got strong feelings about the friends of the opposite sex. But they never spoke about it.
Wow.
When they're already married, it becomes a problem.
Wow.
Those are things that, and they don't communicate. So we trigger their communication using such questions and encourage them, go and ask more questions in that line.
Yes, okay.
It helps them. Because you find that these people are not communicating. They are talking a lot, but they are not communicating.
Wow.
So for me, even married couples, sometimes I take them through that program. And then once they've answered individually, I say to them, okay, now that you have learned these concepts, after we finish the program, I say, okay, take the same questionnaire, but now make it your own.
Wow.
And fill it together.
Wow.
It helps a lot. So we need to learn how to communicate. You can't leave anything to chance. You can't assume that this is what they think or this is what, because these are individuals that have got their own minds. You cannot just assume and be angry that they are not doing it the way that you thought they would do. Did you tell them? What do you expect?
Well, I'm really, really excited about that. More communication. Communication doesn't necessarily mean a lot of talking.
Not at all.
And a lot of talking does not mean that there is communication happening.
Exactly.
So, but I think you said probably the litmus test of communication is vulnerability.
Exactly.
Openness.
Exactly.
Exposing yourself.
Yes.
To the other person.
Yes.
It being, and it's especially for guys, many times ducking, those questions and those areas and not wanting to expose too much of ourselves. We think before time or something like that. And if somebody, has, say, let's take not the worst case scenario, and we're talking of, somebody who in the past has had negative experience and say response from people from the other gender, who has not had good feedback, about certain issues that have impacted his life or that he carries and has been a closed book, said with as regards this issue, I'm going to not communicate I'm not letting anyone in there.
Yeah.
How do you break through to somebody like that, to at least open up to somebody? Because as you said, some of those questions, so that some of those issues are deal breakers or deal makers. How do you get through to that person?
You see, the issue is, that is why for us, when we do premarital counseling, for example, one of the non-negotiable tables is the emotional DVDs. Because what they talk about right now is on the issue of the emotional DVDs. So what you do is, once, even you yourself, you need to understand, you need to be honest and sincere, because nobody can help you if you are not honest and sincere. If you realize that there's an area that I'm reluctant to delve in, there and there understand that is going to sabotage your communication.
Sure.
And that if you feel that you cannot open up in this area, you're vulnerable, you need to go back and check, why is it that I am reluctant to open here, and then go back and deal with it. If you cannot deal with it by yourself, find somebody to help you, because that means there's an area there that you have not dealt with healthily, in a healthy manner. And as a result, it's going to affect you here. So it's very crucial that you know, even before your spouse finds that out, you need to be honest. You need to deal with it. You need to get help if you have to. But that area must be resolved, because when you say, for example, in the natural nakedness, when you are married to your spouse, because you see sometimes there are people that you feel they're not comfortable with some certain parts of their bodies. If you are not comfortable with a certain part of your body, as a result, you cannot stay naked in front of your spouse. You need to check, why is it that I am not comfortable with this area? You need to confront it head on and deal with it. And communicate with it with your spouse, for that matter. And you need to understand, why am I reluctant? And once you can pick up, you can pinpoint exactly, and then deal with it in your mind, it's going to be easier in future to deal with it. Now, in emotional nakedness is the same issue. You need to pinpoint, why am I reluctant to be vulnerable? Why am I reluctant to open up, to make myself vulnerable and open up, to vulnerability? Is to say, I'm putting myself at a risky space. That if you wanted to hurt me, you could hurt me. I'm putting myself at risk in in front of you, because I'm risking being hurt by you, but because I trust you, I know you would not hurt me. So if you therefore cannot be vulnerable in a particular area of your life, you need to understand, why was I hurt here? Am I struggling to make myself vulnerable? Because it says, the sentence says, once bitten, twice shy. And deal with that, because it's unhealthy for marriage.
Wow. And as you said that, I'm just thinking as well, to the degree that you are vulnerable to your spouse, the deeper the intimacy.
Exactly.
The deeper the joy, of love. And, because like when I say intimacy, I'm not talking necessarily about the act, but I'm talking about knowing the other person, knowing them and loving them. So you can imagine, so if you've, I'm just thinking, I've not been in it, but I'm just, I can assume, giving an analogy of a house with many rooms, that, if one room you have just locked and are refusing anyone's entry, then nobody will know perhaps you in that space. They will not know what kind of a person. And I think the joy of marriage, ultimately, they say it gets better with age. Love gets better with you grow older together, and you get closer the older you get, actually. They say if you are not married 20 or whatever, I don't know, there's some statistic out there that says if you've not been married a certain number of years, like you wouldn't really know somebody, in certain degrees or something like that. But I don't know. It's just a statistic. It could be wrong. It could be right. But I can only imagine the joy in when you find somebody who accepts you and loves you for who you are in every space. The joy of that compared to the fear of just holding back. I don't know. Maybe if you can, just elaborate on that.
That's very important. Knowing each other. It's interestingly, when the Bible speaks about intimacy among couples,
yes,
it will say, and so knew his wife, and then they gave birth to a child. So knowing somebody is when this person, there are no secrets between you.
Wow.
You are an open book. You know that you are naked in front of them. They know you inside out.
Sure.
And that's the deepest intimacy. And the Bible regards that as intimacy.
Yes.
As long as you still have secrets from one another. As long as you still, have areas that you will say, I will die with this one. I will never allow them to know that I am vulnerable here. I will never allow them to know my fears, to know my struggles emotionally. Because, once you are in that space, that means you have not been able to communicate to a deeper level. Also, once there's a level of vulnerability to each other, that once we reach, communication becomes natural.
Wow.
Because you get what Pastor T.D. Jakes puts, you get to that, you get to the rhythm.
Yes.
Once you get to a certain level of rhythm, nothing becomes difficult now. Let me tell you a funny story. Before I got married, I was engaged to my wife. I got to know the importance of communication. And I thought to myself, wow, this I'm going to pursue at any level.
Okay.
At any cost.
Okay.
And then I find out that there was a young lady, who at the time that it got out that I was going to get married to my wife, one lady was very hurt. But I was not aware. I was a youth leader. So the roommate of this lady said, hey, but I was not a pastor then. Please come and see so-and-so because they are really having a problem of depression. So I go with this roommate to see the lady. But it comes out as I talk to her, but no, the problem, I'm the depression cause.
Wow.
Because the lady is depressed because now I am taken away. I quickly, backstepped and then referred her to somebody else.
Wow.
Now, I am telling my fiancé at the time,
yes,
on our way to a counseling session. But you see, communication, I learned. If you can communicate and she knows that even if you did not say it, she would not find out. But she knows if I say it, it could put me in trouble. I did not have to tell her. But I told her, hey, there's this thing that happened.
Sure.
Guess what? The question that she asked me next, I was not ready for. I was not ready for it.
Wow.
Now, I pray that nobody is listening knows the story. But she asked me the question, but in you, is there anything that, do you love the girl? I said, no, I love you. I mean, I was very honest. I love you. There's no way that I can love the girl. I love you. I thought we're done. She asked, is there even a little thing that likes the girl? Now, I had an opportunity there to avoid that or escape that. But I decided that, vulnerabilities goes with honesty. I said, well, there's a bit of a thing that sort of likes, but it's just, it's nothing. I was honest,
Yes. Yes.
Yo, good. By the time we got to the counseling session, we were no longer talking to each other. She was angry with me. Who didn't understand. But guess what? The thing is, even if she was angry at that time, when she was alone, she got to thinking, but this man,
is honest.
What I see, he could have easily, hid that from me. He could have easily said, no, I don't like the girl, but he was honest. And then I gained a level of trust in the communication.
Wow.
Then another time happened, something else happens, another girl, before we got married, this girl, I was in a missions program, I was preaching somewhere, met the girl in this place, and then we came back. But this girl kept on calling, wanting counseling and stuff. And then after some time, she confessed, actually, I'm not actually looking for counseling.
Wow.
I'm looking for you.
Whoa.
I said, no. And then I sort of told her, no. Quickly helped her to put the brakes and put the parking brake right there. And then guess what? I did not have to tell my fiancée, but I told her.
Wow.
And there are many other instances.
Wow.
That
Absolutely.
me being that honest to her in it made me vulnerable, And of course, this time the question was, well, I don't like. I like the girl as a child of God, but I don't like her as like her as a girl,
Yes, yeah.
But that and many others made her and made me vulnerable. It put me in a space where she could be angry at me, where she could even punish me. But I knew I'm building up for the future.
Wow.
As a result, for my wife, it's easy to trust me today.
Wow. Wow.
Because she knows my principle is, even if I know this it could put me in trouble, but I still communicate. Say, well, something like this happened. Something like this happened, and then we laugh about it or we talk about it, but she knows where I stand. She knows I'm an open book. She knows I'm naked. I'm not hiding anything from her. And vice versa.
Wow.
That's the rich communication. Once you reach that rhythm, that level, it makes marriage so enjoyable. Nothing becomes difficult to deal with.
Wow, that is something to be really admired. Because I can only imagine. Just looking at the statistics, even from how you open the book, many more marriages are unraveling compared to the number of people that are getting, married. It's just a hint of the communication level, not talking, communication level, vulnerability level. How many people have rooms that have been locked for years and have sworn I will not
never open?
Yes, which is just it diminishes the joys of marriage. It really, to that extent. I think we should, many people who are tuning in right now, listening, I think we should follow Pastor's example, not just words. He's not just talking, but walking the walk. Because when you see that somebody has a very rich marriage, it is admirable. It is very admirable to see amazing people walking, and I think it's just engineered in us by God to admire such. I'm like, oh, that marriage, Lord, I pray and I believe for for such, and I believe so.
It will be so in Jesus' name.
Amen. And so for our listeners out there, unfortunately, we have just passed the time, but this conversation is very exciting, and I'm very excited for what's coming. Forward next week and the coming weeks, ahead of us. So, Pastor, if you can just give a word of encouragement, anticipation for our listeners to tune in next time, what would it be?
Brother John, for any good flower garden, if you are neighbors and my yard has got very nice flowers and your yard does not, it's not because God favors me and does not favor you. We all have equal opportunities to make our gardens beautiful. But the difference is, for your garden to be beautiful, you nurture it. You make it, you work on it, you make it beautiful. If your communication, if your marriage is going to be beautiful, nurture your communication. If your communication, you are intentional about nurturing it and about learning it, your marriage, I believe, I'm telling you, will be very healthy and rich. Few things can overcome healthy communication in marriage. Few problems cannot be solved with good communication. Many people that divorce, if you talk to them, they will tell you, I still love this person, but I cannot. That "but I cannot," it means they have lacked somewhere, they have failed somewhere to communicate to a level to be in the same rhythm to defeat the problem itself. So I want to challenge you, work harder. Listen to the concept and the tools we'll be giving you and use them and see how rich your marriage can be. It's possible to have a healthy, it's possible to have a good and a happy marriage. And we are here to help each other to get there.
Wow. Amen to that. Amen. Dear listeners and viewers, we really are excited to share this incredible session, The Art of Building a Healthy Marriage. Here is where we equip you and we give you the tools, the know-how, and we direct you to the right path, the right people to actually get right information all about marriage. Thank you for tuning in. This is the end of our session for today. But don't forget to tune in next week, same time, same place. This is Agape FM, bringing the gospel nearer to you. And we are going to listen to Khaya, Never Settle for Less. Let us never settle for less than what God wants us. Amen.